This is the SiBio CKM, the world's first continuous ketone monitor. I've been testing it out, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you all about it. First, we'll unpack the device, and I will show you how the app works. Then, I want to test the accuracy of this CKM by comparing the readings to a Keto Mojo blood ketone meter. And finally, I want to dive into who would benefit from a continuous ketone monitor, and why I think these monitors are going to be a game changer when they are released worldwide. I'm Jenny. I've been doing a carnivore diet experiment since December 2022 and tracking my progress through weight, measurements, DEXA scans, continuous glucose and ketone monitoring, blood work, and arterial scans, and sharing all of that information with you here on YouTube. SiBio sent me a few samples of their continuous ketone meters a few months ago, and I have been rigorously testing them. Because if these monitors are accurate, they will be a game changer for anybody that wants to keep track of their ketone levels. So I thank you to SiBio for sending me these free samples and for sponsoring today's video. I'll admit I was skeptical at first, but after testing 4 of these sensors, I am impressed. Let me show you what comes in the box and their app. The box is just like a standard continuous glucose monitor. You have these 2 pieces here that you have to combine. You clean off the back of one of your arms with this alcohol swab, and then you just press this button here on the top to attach the CKM to the back of your arm. It comes with this protective cover, but I also like to cover mine with a continuous glucose monitor cover, which I have laying around because I wear CGMs all the time. Next up, you're going to want to download the SiBio CKM app. You can use this continuous ketone monitor with both Androids and iPhones. Once you download the app, you're going to need to activate a new sensor, and once you press that button, your camera is going to pop up, and you're going to need to scan this QR code right here on the applicator, or you can manually enter this code on the side of the box. Once you do that, the CKM needs about 30 minutes to warm up, and then you will get 14 days of use out of it. Let's take a look at the measurements. You can see this little graph here, and you can adjust this to 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, and 24 hours. If you'd like data from a longer span of time, you can click this drop down right here that says last 24 hours, and then you can filter by 3, 5, 7, or 14 days, or you can click on calendar to view data from any time you wore a sensor. In the upper right hand corner of the screen, you will see something that says optimal zone. If you click on that, there's going to be some guidance as to where you want your ketone levels to be. Measurements are in millimoles per liter. From 0 to 0.5 millimoles per liter, you are not in ketosis. Nutritional ketosis falls from 0.5 to 1.5 millimoles per liter. The optimal zone is from 1.5 to 3.0 millimoles per liter. Moderate to high is 3.0 to 5.0 millimoles per liter. And finally, the high zone is from 5.0 to 8.0 millimoles per liter. You can also set alarms. If you head over to Profile and click on Ketone Level Reminder, you can set a low ketone level reminder, a high ketone level reminder, and a My Ketone Goal reminder. So you can set this, let's say you want to have your ketones at 2.0 millimoles per liter, you can set that in there, and you will get a little alert every time you reach that goal. You can also record an event. If you go to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you will see this little plus sign in a blue circle. If you click on that, you can record your activities and track your health changes. You can track food, water, fasting, weight, sleep, exercise, my moment, glucose, and blood ketones. Now let's dive into some testing. I've had 4 monitors total. I've had 3 on myself and 1 on my husband, and I have to say they are wicked accurate. What I like to do is I take a reading from my Keto Mojo blood ketone meter, and then once I have the results from that, I take a look at my SiBio CKM app, and almost every single time they were either exactly the same or within 1 to 2 points of each other. I tested several of these SiBio continuous ketone monitors because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just one meter that was accurate. And across the board, the 4 meters that I have tested have been very, very accurate. There's no need for calibration for the continuous ketone monitor, and I have yet to have one of these monitors fail on me, which does happen about 10% of the time with the leading continuous glucose monitors that are available in the United States, so I thought that was pretty awesome. After figuring out that this CKM is super accurate, I then decided to run a few experiments to see how my ketone levels would respond to different situations. The first experiment was using exogenous ketones. I use Ketone IQ, and I just wanted to see the rise in my ketones using the CKM. So I took took one shot of the exogenous ketones, and 30 minutes to an hour later, lo and behold, you can see that rise in my ketones. It's sustained for a little bit and then it drops right back down. That's just me illustrating that the exogenous ketones are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. I also used my Keto Mojo right there at that peak to see if that reading and the CKM matched up, and they did. Next up, I want to show you the effect of exercise on your ketones. Typically, you're going to see your ketones decline a little bit while exercising. This is completely normal and nothing you should worry about. I've also seen dips occasionally when I use the sauna. This is also not very surprising because anytime you use a sauna, you're typically going to see an increase in your glucose levels, and if your glucose levels are higher, your ketones are typically lower. Next up, here's what happens to my ketones during a sardine fast. They typically settle between 1.0 and 3.5 millimoles per liter, and you can see this overnight rise to 5.0. The highest my ketones have gotten during a sardine fast is 7.0 millimoles per liter. A sardine fast is where you only consume sardines for a certain period of time. It's a protein-sparing modified fast, so you're consuming enough protein to spare your muscles from wasting away while you're fasting, but it's typically pretty low fat, so your body needs to tap into your fat stores for energy. Finally, I wanted to show you the effects of a high-carb, high-sugar cheat meal on your ketone levels. This was from the last weekend in September. We always go to the apple orchard this time of year, and I have my once-a-year apple cider donuts. I was running a fun experiment where I wanted to show the effects of a cheat weekend on your metabolic health, so I went all out. I had donuts, I got a brick of vanilla praline fudge, and I had some ice cream from Cold Stone Creamery. You can see that my ketone levels were close to zero. I went back on full carnivore that Sunday, and it took about 3 days for my glucose and my ketones to recover. The spikes on this 3-day graph are where I took exogenous ketones, but you can see the rest of the time my ketones were just way down. So this continuous ketone monitor is a great tool to see just how long it takes you to recover from a high carb, high sugar cheat meal. For me, I don't bounce back right away. It takes several days. Let's dive into some ketone FAQs before we finish up with who I think would benefit most from a continuous ketone monitor and where they are available. The way that you elevate your ketone levels is either by eating a low-carb diet or by taking exogenous ketones. In general, higher ketone levels indicate more fat burning, so either from the dietary fat that you're consuming or from the subcutaneous and or visceral fat stores that are in and on your body. If you're constantly eating high carb, you're probably not going to see very many ketones in your bloodstream because you're primarily running off of glucose. And even if you're eating a very low carb diet and have ketones in your bloodstream, you're still utilizing glucose as well. Your body can manufacture its own supply of glucose and ketones. The difference between the two fuels is that ketones burn more efficiently. You'll notice a difference in your mental state when you're mainly running off of ketones as opposed to glucose. Your mood will be much more stable, your brain won't be foggy, and you'll feel more energetic. That's why so many people strive to keep their ketones at a certain level. For me, I feel best when my ketones are between 1.0 and 4.0 millimoles per liter. My brain works better, I'm in a great mood, and physically I feel energized and ready to go. Everybody's a bit different, so as you continue to track your ketones more and more, you will discover what your optimal levels are. A common myth that I run into in the carnivore and low carb community in general is that people assume they're in ketosis if they're eating very low carb or close to zero carbs. And I found through the use of the Keto Mojo and this CKM that that's not necessarily true. It depends a lot on your metabolic health and if you have a lot of insulin resistance. For example, my husband and I eat similar foods and we have a cheat meal once a month. If that cheat meal was a high carb, super sugary cheat meal, it would have taken him up to 2 weeks to get his ketones back to 0.5 millimoles per liter or more. This is when he was still 270 pounds and had a lot of insulin resistance. Now that we've gotten him down into the 240s, his body is bouncing back a lot quicker from a high carb cheat meal. But for me, I would respond differently to that exact same high carb cheat meal. My ketones bounce back within 3 to 4 days. You could be eating a fully carnivore diet that's close to zero carbs and still not be in ketosis if you have a lot of visceral fat and insulin resistance. We know this because that is our lived experience with my husband and so many of the people in my carnivore community and here on YouTube. A lot of people consume dairy in their version of keto or carnivore, but for me, if I'm consuming a lot of dairy, my ketone levels are just in in the gutter. That's just a quirk that I've figured out from my own data, and I would not have been able to figure that out if I hadn't been measuring. I can think of a few groups of people that would greatly benefit from the use of a continuous ketone monitor. One of those groups would be people that are managing mental health conditions. A therapeutic ketogenic diet can be a game changer for those that are suffering from depression, anxiety, bipolar 1 and 2, schizophrenia, and eating disorders. And being able to look at an app and know what your ketone levels are immediately is just so freeing for people that are used to having to stick their fingers several times a day to check their ketone levels. Another group of people that would greatly benefit from this CKM are those that are managing a cancer diagnosis. A therapeutic ketogenic diet can help to inhibit tumor growth, so a lot of people that are going through cancer treatments are trying to keep their ketone levels really high. Life would be so much easier if these people could look at their phone to see their ketone levels. I also think anybody that's living a ketogenic lifestyle could benefit from wearing one of these CKMs for at least a month, because it's important to see how your body responds to food, exercise, and lifestyle choices. And I think being able to see that data right in front of your face can be really helpful when you're trying to form new habits. So all in all, I highly recommend the SiBio Continuous Ketone Monitor. They are still pending FDA approval in the United States, so if you're here, you're not going to be able to get one at this time, but they are coming soon. Here are the countries where it is not available: United States, UK, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Netherlands, and Ireland. The SiBio Continuous Ketone Monitor is available in all other European countries: Canada, Australia, Singapore, and Mexico. I have a link in the description of this video where you can get 10% off your order, so be sure to check that out if you live in a country where it is available. On the screen, I'm going to pop up a couple of videos I think you might enjoy, including a full 90 days of tracking my ketones. I learned a bunch of interesting stuff here. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Thanks again to SiBio for sponsoring today's video. Their product is highly accurate and I really loved testing it. I'll see you in the next video.